WXYZ Channel 7 presents the final Detroit mayoral debate with a live audience at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History in Detroit and an audience of Detroit voters here at Broadcast House. Now, here's your moderator, WXYZ Editorial and Public Affairs Director, Chuck Stokes.
Good evening and welcome to the Detroit mayoral debate. For 20 years now, WXYZ has been honored to host the final debate between candidates running for the city's top elected job. Tonight, our candidates are retired Detroit Medical Center President and CEO Mike Duggan and Wayne County Sheriff Benny Napoleon. Gentlemen, welcome to Broadcast House.
Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure having you. I like the way you matched your suits a little bit here. With the election just 1 week away, we recognize the importance of this debate and consider it a privilege to have both of you in our studio tonight. For this debate, WXYZ has partnered with News Talk 760 WJR Radio, Crane's Detroit Business, and the Michigan Chronicle. In addition, our co-hosts for tonight are the Booker T. Washington Business Association and the Detroit Black Chamber of Commerce. The debate is being simulcast on WJR and it is also being streamed on WXYZ.com. You can also watch the debate on your mobile device using the WXYZ mobile app. Throughout the debate, we will be using the hashtag 7Debate on Twitter and encourage you to join in our conversation. Stephen Clark has been monitoring the social media and joins us from our news studio. Stephen, what have you heard so far?
It's a new age. People can weigh in from anywhere on this, and so we've been sampling what people have been asking the last couple of days here in tweets. And Wendy, for instance, gives us an example of what people are finding important. Hi, Steve, she says, for the 7th debate, what will be done to clean up the blight and ensure safe neighborhoods? Not rhetoric, but a plan. I find a lot of people want specifics. This one right here, the infamous wants. What will each candidate do to improve the quality of life in the neighborhoods? Again, give specifics. I want to point out, by the way, we're using that hashtag 7Debates right there. So tweet your response to what the candidates are saying tonight and also questions that you might have, and we'll get those in. Plus, we'll be streaming a lot of your questions on the bottom of the screen during this broadcast. Chuck?
Very good. Thank you, Stephen. Sounds like a lot going on and a lot of issues to tackle. Tonight, the candidates will answer questions from our panel. Some of those questions have come from you at home via the social media, and some were submitted on our website through WXYZ.com. In addition, we'll take questions from our audience at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History in the Cultural Center. Glenda Lewis is there right now to assist us. Glenda, who's in your audience?
Oh, Chuck, more than 300 registered Detroit voters are in this audience this evening. And good evening to you. We are so proud to be a part of this debate. Napoleon supporters, Duggan supporters, and some undecided voters who are looking to get their questions answered tonight from part of the heart of the city.
Thank you very much, Glenda. We'll get back to you in just a little bit. The rules of the debate are pretty simple. And here are the rules. Candidates,
the questions will be directed to the candidates on an alternating basis. The candidate will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer each question. Then the opposing candidate has 1 minute for a rebuttal. After that, the candidate receiving the initial question will have a 30-second response to the rebuttal. The panel of journalists can follow up their questions if they so choose. Both candidates will have a 2-minute closing statement at the end of the debate. The decision as to who would go first was determined earlier by a coin toss.
All right, let's meet our panel. To my left is Mary Kramer of Crane's Detroit Business. Next to her is Bankole Thompson of the Michigan Chronicle. To my far right is Lloyd Jackson from News Talk 760 WJR, the great voice of the Great Lakes. And finally, my friend and colleague, Action News anchor Carolyn Clifford. The time signals will come from the lights facing the candidates. Candidates, can you very clearly see the lights?
We can. Yes.
You can? All right. The yellow light means you have 15 seconds. The red light means it is time to stop. Cease. Fine. All right. Carolyn, I introduced you last, but you get the first question. Your question goes to Mr. Duggan. Let me clear up one rumor right off the bat. Some of you have probably noticed my little bandaged up pinky. I want to set the rumor straight. It had absolutely nothing to do with the fight that the candidates had over which one would go to the makeup room first, okay? Carolyn, let's get serious.
All right, let's get serious. Gentlemen, thank you for being here and welcome. Now, according to Forbes.com, Detroit has been ranked as one of the most dangerous cities in the country for the 5th year in a row, if not the most dangerous city. Now, daily we hear stories on the news about kids dying on our streets. Just recently, a mother being raped just getting off the bus to pick up her child, and the elderly, of course, being attacked in their own homes. We've read your websites. We've heard your plans. So my question to you, Mr. Duggan, is this. How will you specifically attack crime day one as the mayor of Detroit if you're elected and make Detroit a safer place, which really is issue number one for Detroit voters?
Well, thank you, Carolyn, to all the panelists, and I want to thank WXYZ, WJR, Cranes, the Michigan Chronicle, the Booker T. Washington Business Association, and the Detroit Black Chamber for hosting this event. And let me start with a proper introduction. My name is Mike Duggan. I was born in the city of Detroit. As a young boy, I lived on Stansbury near Fenkell and Schaefer. I went to high school at Catholic Central, and I've worked in this city every day for the last 32 years. And I'm running for mayor because I believe we need change. And there is nowhere we need change more than in the question that was just asked relative to crime. Our senior citizens can't even pump gas without being afraid of being beaten and robbed. And so I would go at it in two different ways. One, we have got to cut the police response time. We've got to get the cops to show up when they're called. And that means, and I think Chief Craig's taking some steps, but they aren't enough, to get the officers out of the precincts, those who are dispatching cars, the more than 50 officers who are filling out payroll with pencil and paper. We need to get them on the street and backfill their jobs with civilians at half the price. And then the second thing we need to do is do what I was doing as prosecutor. That Chief Craig has a job of running the department, but as prosecutor, we attack the violence as a network. We got the U.S. Attorney, the ATF, the DEA, the Detroit Police, the state. We went after every single gun crime as a team. We drove down violence. To my last year in 2003, we had the fewest murders in 30 years. We can do it again.
Thank you, Mr. Duggan. Mr. Napoleon, your rebuttal.
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank Channel 7 and all of the media for taking down that fictitious commercial about me being responsible for the jail. So I just wanted to clear that up right at the top of this debate. I want to thank you also for having us here. I think the only way that you're going to be able to fight crime and to reduce crime is to use proven techniques to lower crime. I have done that to the tune of 30%. According to the FBI statistics, it's there. You can look at it online with the FBI. 30% during my time as police chief. But the real issue is not response time, because response time happens after you're a victim. My plan focuses on keeping you from being a victim. That's why I have a square mile initiative that will focus on reducing crime, stopping people from being victims, so the police really don't have to get there in a hurry.
Okay. Mr. Duggan, your chance to rebut that.
And the last piece of the plan is this, that as they learned in Boston when they drove the violence down, it's not enough to have the criminal justice system there. We need the ministers there. And they brought the violence down in Boston with a 10-point plan where ministers offered mentoring programs, conflict resolution programs. You had a great partnership. We're going to need to build that partnership again right here in Detroit, because working together we can get the violence down.
All right, thank you, gentlemen, for the first round. Carolyn, you're satisfied?
Yes, I am.
All right, very good. Our next question comes from Mary Kramer, publisher of Crane's Detroit Business, and your question goes to Sheriff Napoleon.
Great. Sheriff, in the 1970s, Atlanta's mayor, Maynard Jackson, was famous for increasing participation by minority firms in public-private partnerships and joint ventures. Coleman Young did that in Detroit. He often would pair minority companies with other companies that were doing business in the city. Kwame Kilpatrick had a slightly different model, and that friends and family kind of plan led to racketeering and extortion convictions. What's the role of the mayor, if any, in helping to support minority-owned companies, women-owned companies, or Detroit-based companies? Or should you be agnostic and colorblind?
Oh, absolutely not. I think it's important that the mayor in the city of Detroit, in a community that is diverse as the city of Detroit, that the mayor has to take a lead in making sure that everyone participates when it comes to creating economic opportunities. That's where true leadership comes in. As mayor, I will bring, I'm endorsed by the Michigan Black Chamber of Commerce. I'm endorsed by them because they know I understand that it is critical that everyone participate when it comes to economics. Certainly jobs are important, but it's even more important to create equity, create ownership in this community. And I will work very hard with all parts of the community segment, people of all color, women, all minorities, to get everyone involved in making money in this great city.
Thank you. Mr. Duggan?
And it's a great question, and I think this is a case where we talk about not what we say we're going to do, but what did we do. We are spending now $850 million at the Detroit Medical Center in investment in the community, and we made it a point to reach out to the small women and minority-owned businesses. And nearly 50% of all the construction now being done at DMC is either women, minority, or Detroit-owned companies. And here's how we went at it. When we realized that a lot of the small companies didn't have the cash flow to bid, we shortened the payments for everybody to 15 days. It allowed a huge number of additional small minority-owned companies to come in and participate. And then we insisted on the building trade side that the apprentices, the young people learning how to be iron workers and carpenters, that minority participation be extended there, because for far too long young men of color have been excluded from the building trades, and more than half of all of our apprentices on the DMC sites are now minorities. If we're committed to it, we can deliver results.
I do think it's important to say what you have done, and I agree with Mike on that. As a member of the Detroit Police and Fire Pension Fund, we helped launch many African-American-owned businesses and women-owned businesses as part of our functioning and structuring of the police department's pension fund. The largest real estate firm in this country, African-American, was launched by the pension fund when I was sitting on that board.
All right. Mayor?
Sheriff, but what about procurement at the department level? The Sheriff's Department buys a lot of stuff. What, have you had a procurement program?
You know, the procurement process in Wayne County is done by the Wayne County Executive's Office, not out of the Sheriff's Office. So the procurement process goes out for bid, people put in requests, and it's selected out of the County Exec's Office.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Duggan, do you have a quick rebut to that?
No.
Very
I agree
good.
with him.
All right. Now for our next question, we are going to go down to the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, where Glenda Lewis is standing by. Glenda, who do you have there?
Chuck, I'm standing here with Dr. Terrence Dillard, who has a question. Doctor, please ask.
Yes, for the past 18 years, my family and I have resided in the city of Troy. Recently, we purchased a house in the city of Detroit and moved back to the city. What I've noticed is that quality services are almost non-existent, and would like to know, as mayor, what would you do to improve the quality of life for Detroit residents?
All right, very good. Mr. Duggan?
And this is my turn. Well, let me start by saying I'm really pleased that you moved back to the city, and we do have an obligation to deliver better services. So where do we start? We've got to cut the police response time, as I've talked about. Second, we have got to get the street lights on. We can't continue living in the dark in this community. And so that means we need to hold the repair crews. There's a lighting authority that is going to put in new poles and new wires over the next 5 or 6 years. But we cannot wait 5 or 6 years to get the lights on in this city. And so we are going to demand accountability from the repair crews, just as when I took the emergency room wait times at DMC down from 3 or 4 hours to 29 minutes, we're going to demand prompt repair times out of these crews. And then the other thing is, we have got to attack the abandoned house and the blight situation in the neighborhoods, because that's the key to rebuilding the city. And what I intend to do, and you can find the plan on my website at dugganfordetroit.com, and you can see it in all its detail, but the key is that we go back to doing what we were doing when I was the Wayne County prosecutor, that when the houses first go abandoned, that we come in and we take those houses from the people who have abandoned them. We sell them to families and move families in. We did this more than 1,000 times when I was the prosecutor. And what we found was, when we moved families into the vacant houses and we took the whole block at once, I could drive you down those blocks 6 months later, and the rest of the block, people were planting flowers and painting their homes, because just like blight spreads, hope spreads.
Sheriff Napoli?
Well, unfortunately, Mike's not right on this deal. The lighting authority does not work for the mayor. The mayor has no control over turning on street lights. Also, the mayor of the city of Detroit cannot seize houses. That can only be done by the prosecutor and the attorney general. So clearly that's not within the mayor's purview. But when you're talking about making a community safe and correcting issues when it comes to public service and the delivery of services, first and foremost, we've got to measure. We have issues where we have no idea how long it takes people to do things. You have to make sure that you create a safe environment. Public safety must be the #1 priority of the city of Detroit's government. Public health, safety, and welfare cannot be optional. We must make sure that you are safe in your homes, safe at your jobs, safe in your schools, and safe at church. We must also make sure that we pick up your trash, respond when you have a fire, and make sure EMS is there when you call for EMS.